I'm Dana Denta, and you're watching FYI. Waves rolled into Ypsilanti as the best of the best in wakeboarding and surfing show off their high-flying maneuvers. Watch. Picturesque Ford Lake became the third stop on the Supra Boats Pro Wakeboard Tour.
We have the Pro Wakeboard Tour, which features the top 16 wakeboarders in the world and the top 6 wake surfers in the world competing head-to-head. It's a phenomenal event for wakeboarding and surfing and for the family.
It's awesome not only competing against your peers, but having a chance to compete against yourself and try to push yourself to the limits. The tour and Supra has allowed us to all come together in these awesome locations for battles.
Speaking of locales, Ford Lake was a coveted spot on the 2019 tour.
It's a tremendous site. It's level, it's deep. You're going to see some of the best wakeboarding ever. It's one of the best sites we've ever been to. They're being judged on amplitude, the size of the trick, the difficulty of the trick, and how well they execute the trick. So the judges take that all into account and give them a score, and they're posted immediately on the board so you can see how things are going. And it's just head-to-head. There'll be 4 people in each heat.
I'm trying to go as high as possible every trick, and then trying to make it look big and then aggressive.
I would say my favorite move is definitely a 720 big spin. I think it's visually pleasing and it's definitely challenging for a rider myself.
Back in on his switch toes.
They go 20 feet in the air. They're going to do double flips and back spins all in one motion. It's phenomenal that you're this close to the water to be able to see them do those kind of moves. And the surfers will do the same type thing, spinning constantly, doing 360s behind the boat without a rope. It's pretty cool to watch.
The season finale will take place on Broadside Harbor Lakes in Boise, Idaho on August 3rd, where the winners are crowned. Stay tuned, and we'll be back shortly with more news and information. The Ann Arbor District Library has any number of events to pique a myriad of interests, and recently the downtown branch worked in conjunction with the Michigan Taiwanese American Organization to bring an ancient art form back to life in the U.S. Taiwanese culture is taking over the area as people experience puppetry that is deep-rooted in China's history.
A well-renowned troupe that actually supply these puppets for us, particularly from Taiwan, the Formosa. And with the puppets that, is so traditional in Taiwan, nowadays most of the Asians don't even recognize that.
This puppet is going to bring up a lot of the childhood memory from parents or their grandparents and into their kids.
Library patrons painted a colorful array of Taiwanese puppets to create their one-of-a-kind story.
I'm making like a tree and I'm going to put like blossoms on it.
If they painted certain caricatures, and we would love them to learn about it, like bring it home today, maybe go Google it and find out, or come back to the district library and learn about particular character and how the glove puppets and its histories, and overall in the world.
Check out next week's FYI to see a traditional Taiwanese puppet show. There's no better way to celebrate America's independence than watching bright lights bursting in the air. But before you put on your own fireworks display, there's some pertinent safety information. Learn more about fireworks safety and laws in this month's City Roundup in 60.
Hi there, Mike Kennedy, Fire Chief, Ann Arbor Fire Department, here to talk about fireworks safety for the upcoming holiday. Fireworks in the city of Ann Arbor can only be shot off on July 3rd, 4th, and 5th between 8 a.m. and midnight on those 3 days. Fireworks are not allowed to be displayed on city parks, on city right-of-way, or city streets. And you have to have permission from any property owner that you're going to set them off at. You are responsible for any damage or fires that's caused by fireworks, and we always recommend that the safest fireworks are those that you go and see by a professional display at a safe distance. The July 4th holiday is the #1 day of the year for ER visits, and a lot of that is attributable to fireworks. So we hope everyone has a happy and safe July 4th holiday. If you're going to see fireworks, please go to a professional display. Thank you.
As the future becomes reality, we will hear more and more about electric vehicles and how they will have a huge impact on the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. Now the city is taking a leap in that direction as they partner with Climate Mayor's Electric Vehicle Purchasing Collaborative. Joining me is Dr. Missy Stults, Sustainability and Innovations Manager for the City of Ann Arbor. Welcome to FYI, Missy.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell me about this collaborative and what it's sort of about and how we jumped on the bandwagon?
Yeah, for sure. So this collaborative emerged actually from Mayor Garcetti in Los Angeles, who was really concerned about climate change, made this and maintains this as a fundamental issue of his administration, and really wanted to move electric vehicles forward. And so reached out to some other mayors, found there was a lot of interest, but not necessarily a lot of knowledge of how to do it. And so collectively, a group of mayors and their staff came together and said, we want to figure out how to really move this market. And so the collaborative was born. Ann Arbor was involved from the get-go as part of these conversations. Yeah, so we're pretty well networked with a lot of different mayors and other sustainability offices around the country. And this is something we've been watching for a while. But when the opportunity to join the collaborative came around, we knew it was strategic. It made sense given our goals.
So what is the goal? Because there's a goal by 2020 with this.
Right, so there's a few different things, and I know this was kind of confusing if anyone saw the press releases, because there were very different press releases that apparently kind of emerged, or stories from it. So the collaborative fundamentally is cities signing up to work together to advance the electrification of their fleet. And that looks a little different in different cities. Some cities control buses, and so that may include buses. In other cities, they don't. Some have school buses, some have transit buses, some have garbage trucks, some don't have garbage trucks. So we say fleet broadly, and we allow people to kind of move within that. So the goal is really the electrification of our fleet, but not just to displace fuel, gas with electricity, but to actually green that fleet, because we're trying to change our electrical grid to be much cleaner. So the objective is to bring as many cities to the table and to make it really easy for them to electrify and have cleaner forms of energy, healthier air quality, better overall public health, because we don't have exhaust coming out of those tailpipes from electric vehicles in the same way we do from natural gas or fossil fuel-based, gasoline-based vehicles. And then there are numeric goals that each municipality sets on their own.
Okay, so that's like where we got lost. Ann Arbor's got its own goal.
That's right. Yeah. So this one got a little bit conflated.
Yes.
So what's really cool about the collaborative is the press release that came out was from Honolulu, where they were having their annual meeting. We were not present, alas, but it was, I believe, 127 cities and 15 counties agreed to be purchasing electric vehicles in the next year, and collectively the amount of vehicles that group will be buying is the equivalent of about 1 million gallons of gasoline being taken off the road. So it's not an insignificant amount. And Ann Arbor pledged to also be contributing vehicles as part of that buy and those calculations. So that's the collaborative. On the city side, we have a green fleets policy that we've had since 2004. And that is basically about greening our own operations. And in 2018, we passed a new resolution saying we were going to reduce the emissions from our fleet 25% by 2025. So electrification is a part of that.
So do we see year after year we're getting more electric vehicles to the fleet?
Yeah, you just hit the nail on the head. We purchased the very first 3 electric vehicles when I started at the city. So we now have 3 in our fleet, which may not seem like a lot, but it's moving. We also have some hybrid garbage trucks as well that are out. And then we're gearing up for some additional purchases. We also purchased the very first hybrid police vehicle that we've got for us, which isn't crazy progressive, but it is moving, that fleet and kind of changing the culture and normalizing that these vehicles perform just as well. And we're hopefully gearing up for potentially 13 to 20 additional vehicles coming online sometime very soon.
Well, I mean, it's a hard process to do, because you're not going to just take working in good condition vehicles and throw them out because you want to be green in the situation. So it has to be a process over many years where, and like you're talking about the police, that's a big part of the fleet in Ann Arbor. So like to start with them and then just as vehicles sort of retire, then you bring in more.
You are 100% right. So the way that we do our purchasing from a fleet standpoint is that cars are with us for a while, and each group has a different duration of that fleet. So a police vehicle actually gets quite a lot of use, you can imagine. So that vehicle may only be in the fleet 3.5 to 5 years. And so transitioning them out, we'll have lots of opportunities, right, to be transitioning fleet vehicles. But other vehicles are in the fleet 8 to 10 years, right? And so we're not ripping a Band-Aid off and just jettisoning all of our existing vehicles, because that obviously has a really significant footprint too. So it's as vehicles are coming up for replacement, that's when we're replacing them. So the 3 vehicles were the 3 vehicles that came up last year.
Yeah, yeah. And like talking about school buses, that has to, if we could see a fleet, our Ann Arbor Public Schools switch over time, that would have such a big impact on the environment.
Absolutely, and think about the educational elements that that has too, and the opportunities to be talking to the students and the parents about the value of electric vehicles, how well they perform. I mean, it kind of normalizes it within the culture. It's pretty powerful.
How would this help your kind of goal with the city? Because you were brought in to reach the sustainability goal, and I feel like having the electric vehicle aspect is probably your biggest impact you could create.
Oh, that's an interesting kind of view. I haven't thought of it as the biggest impact. It is one area of impact.
Yeah.
So in terms of the emissions targets that we have, so that's kind of the easiest way to think about it. I think about the role in the city and the sustainability office broadly is really making sure that the decisions we make today have really good positive outcomes for Ann Arborites today, but also our future Ann Arborites.
Yeah.
So I don't want to make any decision that is inherently going to make life worse for someone else. And it also has to be driven through the lens of equity, right? So not everyone has equal access and opportunity to the things that we're talking about here today. So we kind of think about how are we making things more broadly accessible to as many people as possible, but especially kind of our more vulnerable frontline populations. So in terms of the fleet transition, the truth is, today, if you plug an electric vehicle into our existing grid, it's not actually that much different than you running your gasoline-powered car. But it's going to change. Our utilities have set pretty aggressive goals in terms of transitioning to renewable sources of energy, and so have we as a city. So we're talking about how we get solar on city facilities, how we do perhaps a large solar installation at a certain area in the city that we're currently exploring. And so the idea would be, eventually, when you plug those cars in, they're powered with solar energy. And so it's a complete offset, right? So that helps drive emissions reductions down. And at the same time we're doing that, maybe this building is also powered with 100% renewable energy. And so I see them as being very much connected, this idea of how do we bring as much solar and renewable energy onto the grid, and then use that energy to power the electrification of our things, our cars, our stoves, our boilers, our heaters, you name it. So that energy is the kind of overarching umbrella that I think about, and then fleet fits under that.
And then as you see sort of the city move in this progressive way, you too as a resident or someone commuting into the city could kind of start doing that for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. So I do live in Ann Arbor. One of the programs that we're hoping to launch in partnership with our utility is actually an electric vehicle bulk buy, where we help our residents that are interested in electric vehicles be able to access them at a reduced rate, and then working with utilities to help bring in the charging infrastructure for you in your home to make it really easy, and to bring in the electricians so that you can do any electrical updates that you need to do, and just basically make it super, super simple and hopefully a little bit cheaper for folks that want to go to an electric vehicle but maybe don't know how or just need a little help to do that. So we're hoping, fingers crossed, that we'll have something in the fall or the spring to launch a bulk buy for EVs for residents who want to move that direction too.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and filling us in about this, and I can't wait to see what the future holds.
Same. Well, I look forward to it, and thanks for the opportunity.
For more on this and other programs, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to see all that we have to offer. And remember to like, comment, and share. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time to FYI.